So we're joined by Ed Vaizey, who is the Minister at DCMS on the day of the announcement of the Community Radio Order. Can you tell us why there was a need for a Community Radio Order?
So it's been a long time coming. A lot of people in the community radio community have been asking me for quite a while now, when am I going to get round to publishing this paper? So I'm very pleased that today we are publishing the paper. We did a consultation, a review on the ways that community radio could raise money. So we have, I think, a pretty successful community radio ecology, if you like, around the United Kingdom, more than 200 community radio stations. But they're not for profit, and they have strict rules about how they can raise money to run themselves, because commercial radio obviously looks over its shoulder and says we don't want to have unfair competition from their perspective. So we've reviewed the way that community radio can raise money. And we've said that community radio stations can now raise more money from commercial sponsorship, provided they remain as not-for-profit organisations. And we've also said that we can renew their licences more easily, because obviously people invest a lot of time and love in community radio stations, and they don't want too much bureaucracy.
What's changed about the landscape of local broadcasting that is the background then to your decision to relax some of the financial strictures, or at least in terms of commercial revenue in the community sector?
Well, I think the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. So when you bring forward a new innovation, it was the last government that brought forward the idea of community radio, so all credit to them for doing that. But obviously, if you're running a commercial radio station, and I think we should remember that commercial radio stations, it's not a licence to print money. That's also a very tough business. They would naturally say, well, hold on, you're creating a whole new set of radio stations that could potentially compete with us. We need to get advertising from businesses to run our business and so on. So initially, there were quite tough restrictions on how much money community radio stations could raise. But I think we've seen over the last 10 years or so that community radio stations can exist alongside commercial radio stations. I think they serve different purposes. The audience for a community radio station like the one we're in, WCRfm, will serve a more local community. It will also provide more sort of training opportunities for people who are learning how to be radio presenters or learning how to be radio technicians. So they serve a more social purpose, and I don't think they threaten the revenues of commercial radio stations. So we want to give them more flexibility, community radio stations, more flexibility to raise money.
Encapsulate in sort of one sentence maybe what you think the real value of community broadcasting into the wider landscape traditionally and exclusively occupied by the BBC and commercial networks.
The value is in the title, community.